All right, like I said, we'll get started at 7.
Okay.
And I'll also keep an eye in case someone puts something in the YouTube chat too. If they have any questions for you, I'll get those off at the end.
Okay, and I will share the screen just as soon as you finish your remarks, unless you want me to just pull up the screen right now.
We'll get started at 7. Okay.
Okay.
And, that works for me. All right.
Pull up the screen right now, Matt. That's what I'll do.
Sounds great.
Okay.
All right, since we're going to get started at 7 o'clock, I thought I would just make a formal welcome to everyone watching here on Zoom and also on YouTube. Welcome to tonight's program with a familiar face. Joan Davis is a registered nurse. She's also a plant-based nutrition expert that we've had in the past. If you remember, we had her back in June, and now we have her back again for a wonderful holiday program that I think we all need at this time about holiday spirit and the situation we all find ourselves in this holidays that we did not see coming. So let's get started. Take it away, Joan.
Thank you. Welcome. And it's been a rough year. And I thought what I would do is start with just saying, as a teacher, before I became a nurse, I was a teacher. And as a teacher, I especially like my audiences to know where we're going. And you might be thinking, well, I don't know. I don't know what you could say. This has been such a rough, bleak year with so many holiday givens that aren't being given this year. And I better start with a disclaimer. So what I'd like to say is what this program is not. Even if I wanted to present a light, Pollyannish pep talk about how great things are and how we should celebrate the holidays as we usually do, I couldn't. I had a picture there of going to grandma's house. We're not going anywhere, are we? Or if we are, it's very limited. And, I think we need to at least acknowledge that 2020 has brought more than its share of misery. Today, I heard it's over 300,000 lives lost in the US due to COVID. And we have to be sensitive to the grief of the loved ones. And maybe that includes some of folks that are here. We certainly have to be aware of all the fact that we're all at risk for this deadly disease. And there are widespread health worries. We can't ignore all the many who have lost their jobs and financial hardships. Talk about teachers, students, parents, all pulling their hair out because of school disruption. And on top of that, we've had racial injustice and civil unrest and divisive politics. Oh my, divisive politics. And then on top of that, weather-related disasters. And about now you're saying, I thought this was going to be an inspiring talk. This is just depressing me. Well, I'm just mentioning it has been a rough year. And now even our usual holiday activities have been greatly curtailed. Might be like this cat is saying, bah, humbug. No office parties, minimal or no holiday travel plans, no live holiday shows or programs, no big family gatherings, low key or no New Year's Eve celebrations. Are you thinking like this cat, I can't wait to get over the holidays? Should we just close down December? Well, you know I'm not going to say that. That's not the message of this program. What I want to assure you is that in the next 30 minutes or 40 minutes, I'm going to present some ideas and hopefully some inspiration so that you can decide that despite all the hardship and the restrictions and the cancellations, it's still worthwhile to hold on to the holidays, even if in low-key or adapted ways. I'm going to review some research because I'm big into research that hopefully will open your eyes. Okay, let's get started. I want to consider half a dozen reasons to hold on to the holidays. I'm going to give you 6 solid science-based reasons why it's worthwhile. And let me get to the next screen here. 6 reasons. Let's start with the first one. The first one is focusing on traditions and spiritual values provides some peace and perspective. What we found is when people are stressed and unsure about the future, and isn't that all of us, then providing focus on traditions and some spiritual values can provide that stability and peace and perspective that we need. Attending a church service or a synagogue service, even if it has to be on Zoom, can still make us more secure. For example, lighting a menorah or an Advent wreath reminds us of what we did last year and the year before that and the many years before that and what we can anticipate in the future. Focusing on spiritual values often makes our problems seem smaller or at least more manageable. So to get ready for challenge number 1, I want you to think just for a minute about some of your favorite holiday traditions, whether secular or sacred. Maybe it was going to church, or maybe it was baking cookies, or hosting a family dinner, or maybe reading a Christmas story to a child. Or how about seeing those salvation bell ringers? You know, I was so pleased the other day. I happened to be going into a grocery store and there were those Salvation Army. It was a little band, a combo of 4, and they were playing their wonderful Christmas carols. And of course, you know, it just felt so good. It's like, oh, this is Christmas. And of course, I put a lot more in the bucket because I was so pleased. There was one thing that was going on and it was risk-free. You know, I had my mask on and there was no danger to me or the musicians. Okay, other holiday traditions, you get the idea. Let me pull up the screen here. Maybe it's having cocoa with whipped cream and marshmallows that you never allow yourself to do except on holidays. Or watching Santa come in, watching the weather map. Or how about pulling out your Christmas socks? Or an annual lunch or shopping day with your sister or your mom. You get the idea. Now that you've got your creative juices going, I'm going to ask you to think about which ones are still possible. Now you might say, oh, some things, it just isn't going to happen. And I agree. I want to be realistic. Big holiday, New Year, Christmas parties, office parties, that's not going to happen this year. But little parties might be a party of 3 or 4. Or you might say, well, I can't go to any shows, Christmas shows, but we still can watch them on TV. After all, if Macy's could have their parade and adjust, we probably could too. So what I'm going to do is say, what we need to do is be flexible and creative. And that's what I didn't tell you, but I'm giving you 6 reasons to hold on to the holidays, and I'm going to give you 6 challenges. So for each reason, I'm going to ask you to do a little stretching and seeing if you can end up facing that challenge. So here's your first challenge. I want you, at least mentally, list 4 of your favorite traditions that are now curtailed, and how might you creatively adapt them to work even in this year. And I've given you some examples already, but maybe you say, I'll give you one more example. I love the cookie exchanges I used to have. Well, how about this for a way to adapt? You take your cookies, you put them in bags, you bring them to people's porches, the participants' porches, or you meet at a park somewhere and keep socially distanced, but you exchange cookies. It's not quite as much fun as in person, but cookies will be exchanged. People will enjoy eating those cookies, and you still have some fellowship with the others. So it's a cookie exchange reimagined. You get the idea? Think about that. So that's your first challenge. And I'm going to list all these challenges at the end, so you don't have to write anything down. Let's move on. Reason 2 to hold on to the holidays is that holidays give us a reason to gather and celebrate together. Oh, that's tough in this day of social distancing, and that really sharply limits who we can gather with. Now, I was all set to tell you about quarantine bubbles. Do you know what those are? We human beings do better when we have a chance to be with other folks in person, as well as just generally connecting. And quarantine bubbles make that possible. A quarantine bubble limits your coronavirus risk and helps you fight loneliness. But as I said, I was going to tell you about this, but I didn't know post-Thanksgiving we'd have such a rush, a surge in COVID cases. So what I'm going to say is, you might want to reconsider anything about a quarantine bubble. Right now, that bubble probably should be shrunk, and maybe just your household contacts. And if you say, well, Joan, I live by myself, I don't have any other people in the house, then I would say for, being with at least one other person, you might want to search out and follow the rules for a quarantine bubble. And the rules are, you ask that person, not only are you wearing a mask and being socially distanced, but anyone you live with, are they being safe? You ask some real tough questions so that you can trust the other person, and you might be able to meet with one other person under those conditions. And then maybe a month or two from now, your bubble can increase. But if you want to know more about quarantine bubbles, all you have to do is Google quarantine or social bubbles, and there'll be some guidelines so that you can safely mix with others, but perhaps not right now, maybe down the road. Okay, so your challenge number 2 is consider ways that you can safely celebrate in person with those close to you. And that usually means your social bubble. But again, you may have to put that, or be real careful about this one. I don't want your social bubble to burst, but I would say it should probably get smaller just because of the great risk we're all dealing with now. Let's move on to the third challenge. You're almost halfway through with the reasons. Another reason to hold on to the holidays is beyond in-person connection, holidays promote general social connection. And this year, it's even more important that we keep those connections open, because that's what being a human's all about. And if we look now, you might have gotten real creative about doing virtual connection. And that's great. Quite frankly, a lot of people these days are connecting around a computer rather than around a dining room table. And that's what you might be doing on Christmas Day or New Year's Day. However, I want to move it a little bit further, and I want to ask you a question about other ways to connect besides using technology, which is great. After all, that's why we're here, right? We manage that. But what I want you to think about is, are there some other ways that you could connect not using technology? Before we had computers, we used to use phones for communicating, and some of us still do. And I'd encourage you to pick up the phone. A lot of people have rediscovered the phone during these pandemic times, and I'd encourage you to consider doing that, a little low-tech approach to connecting. Another thing is letters. Before we had even phones, people used to live quite a ways from each other, and they communicated by way of letters, and it worked pretty well, actually. So I'm going to encourage you to consider that approach. And I want to be real specific. Let's look at something called Christmas cards or holiday cards. Now, you might be someone like me, and I admit it. I was a former English teacher. I send out holiday letters. Grown. I know a lot of people don't like holiday letters, but I love them because I want to hear all the details of someone, especially someone I don't talk to that often. I want to hear about their lives. So I'm grateful for holiday letters. Now, you might not be that chatty kind of person, or you don't like holiday letters, but here's a challenge for you. Take a look at this Christmas card. This one is nice. Someone sent you a card. They were clearly thinking of you. But what did they do? They signed their name. I think you can do better. How about this one? Just adding a few lines. This would probably be one line. Hope you had a good year despite the challenges. I'm hanging in there hoping for better in 2021. That is so much more personal. It acknowledges it's been a rough year for both of you. And I'd much rather get this kind of a message. But even better, look at this. This didn't take long to write. It's just a couple of lines. But hope your brother is fine dealing with his heart problems and your new dog is behaving. And then maybe a couple phrases about you. I'm working out of the home now, exercising more, and getting a few more books read lately. Have you read any good ones lately? Now you see how that connects with your receiver, the person getting your card has a much better idea what's going on with you. And you've acknowledged, yeah, I know your brother was having some heart problems, and I know you got that new dog. Much stronger connection. So I'd encourage you, if you're going to send out holiday notes, make sure that you try to connect in a little bit more personal way. So there is your that challenge, just to make it as personal connection as possible. So the challenge is think about how you can connect. Connect to others not using the computer. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And that is celebrating the holidays lifts our spirits by making ordinary days special and indulging our senses. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes in the last couple months, hasn't it seemed like the days are just kind of the same over and over again? And we need a little something to lift our spirits. Some people say it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Blursday. Everything seems to blur. And one of the ways that we can break that monotony is to use our senses. And celebrating the holidays really is a way to indulge our senses. What do I mean? Well, take a look at this. Holidays allow you to enjoy sounds that you don't ordinarily hear, and smells that aren't common or only happen in December, or taste. So, maybe it's holiday music, maybe it's bells, maybe it's the New Year's Eve countdown. After all, you only hear that once a year, right? How about pine candles, especially pine scented candles or pine boughs, or wonderful kitchen smells that you don't usually have wafting into the house? Or how about plant-based, I'm into plant-based, plant-based traditional favorites, pumpkin pie, eggnog. Those kinds of things remind us that it's special, it's the holidays. So, and then don't forget dressing up your table. Even if it's just you going to have a nice dinner, don't, dress up the table so it gives you a lift, and then dress yourself up. Don't just give up. The more we say, oh, it's too much trouble, then the holiday becomes just another ordinary day. So use your senses to make holidays special. And here comes your challenge. Whoops. What 5 sensual holiday sights, smells, and tastes could you bring into your home for the holidays? It doesn't matter there's a pandemic going on. There's no quarantine on these things. Bringing in a poinsettia, listening to holiday music, having a wonderful pine-scented candle, having those wonderful nuts, whole nuts that you usually don't have around, having them available. You can think of your own, but what I'd encourage you to do is think about what really pleases your senses and how can you get them inside your home. After all, you're home more now, right? It's a wonderful opportunity to enjoy those senses. Okay, we have covered um, uh, the first four, and I'm sorry, I see they were a little misnumbered. The first four recommendations for holding on to the holidays. Now I'm going to get into two that are a little more challenging. And the next one, 5, is reaching out, because holidays are all about reaching out. And I've looked at some research talking about when people help other people, they actually help themselves as much. So let me go into it. I'm getting to my screen here. Volunteers who regularly help others show an improved ability to manage stress and ward off disease, as well as reduced rates of depression and increased sense of life satisfaction. And I have a study down here, 7 scientific benefits of helping others. And I'll give you that at the end for you too, if you want to look into that more. If you say says who, I'll give you the research and you can determine it. The next way that reaching out helps is it makes us happy. Researchers think that giving back helps individuals get a mental boost by actually providing them with a neurochemical sense of reward. We've found that helping others helps with chronic pain. How about this one? One piece of research showed that individuals who volunteered for at least 200 hours a year decreased their risk of hypertension by a whopping 40%. That's pretty good. That's better than a lot of medications. And then finally, helping others gives us a sense of purpose and satisfaction. So there's research that shows that when you reach out to other people, you're helping yourself as well. And that's what a lot of the holidays focus on. So here's your reach out challenge. Now I know most of you are pretty darn good at reaching out to family and friends and maybe neighbors, but I would like to challenge you to maybe go a little beyond that and to look at people in your community who are hurting. And how could you reach those individuals or people who provide services who don't usually get thanked? That's your challenge. And I'm going to give you an example. Two groups of people that are actually maybe three groups of people that we maybe don't reach out to too much. That's the people who deliver our mail. And haven't those folks worked really hard this year? Yes, due to some political issues, the mail might be slower, but it's not your post deliverer's fault. They're trying their best, and they've had to work really hard. First of all, with all the mail-in ballots, and now with Christmas mail. So, reaching out to them, saying thank you. Of course, a tip is appreciated, but even just a thank you, saying, I know this has been a rough year. I appreciate the reliable service. It's really important. Think about another group, the people who pick up your garbage. Now, they've been working much harder this year than usual. Have you thought about it? All that garbage that usually goes into the office collection, the office bins, if you're working out of your home, you're putting it in your home garbage. And those folks who are picking up your home garbage are picking up a whole lot, because a lot of people are weeding out, right? And hopefully they're recycling a lot, but they're getting rid of a lot of stuff. And they're at home, so they're creating more garbage. And then they've got all their work-related garbage. And so the garbage, the garbage folks are working much harder. And I'm going to give you an example. It's sometimes kind of rare to thank the garbage, the folks who work with garbage. My husband gave, he believes in giving tips to the garbage folks, and I think it's great, but he came back, now this was before COVID, he came back last year and he said, he was smiling, he said, well, I just got a big hug. And I said, what? And he said, I gave the garbage man his tip, and big burly guy, he gave him a hug because he was so, I guess, so surprised to be appreciated. So those are the kind of examples. We know there are tons of people who are hurting out there, and I know it's hard to volunteer, but there are ways that you can try to reach out. So I'm going to encourage you to do that. And you might say, well, why? Well, there's actually reasons, again, that it will improve your health as well as help the people that you're trying to reach out to. Okay, we only have one more reason to hold on to the holidays, but maybe it's the most important one. And that is focusing on counting our blessings and practicing gratitude. And you might say, oh, Joan, you're way off base. This has been such a rough year. How can you talk about gratitude? Well, you know, there's lots of research about gratitude and how important it is. It's really quite a extensive body of research showing how important it is to practice gratitude lately. And you might say, well, not this year, but I would challenge you. You can usually find something to be grateful for, even in a rough year like this, just like this gentleman found. Oh, what is he saying? I'm thankful to see the end of 2020. Amen, right? I think a lot of us can voice that. And I also agree with this quote from the grumble-free year calendar. No matter how many challenges we have, there's always something to be grateful for, even if it is, like this gentleman says, the end of the one bad time or one bad situation. So this is kind of a philosophic comment about bad times. And haven't we had those? Bad times help because they help us appreciate times, the good times when we had them. Think about it. Last year at this time, were you so grateful that you could go into a store without putting a mask on and socially distancing yourself? Or that you would be allowed to make a doctor's appointment and not think twice about, oh, they might not be able to schedule me due to restrictions? Or, man, I could use a hug. You didn't think about, oh, that may not be possible. So those bad times have made us much more aware of things that we took for granted. And again, the bad times encourage us to work towards getting those good times back. So a little philosophic comment here, but I think it's important when we look at gratitude. Now you might say, Joan, you're getting a little too philosophic. Tell me some real benefits of gratitude, and here they are. And again, this was a Forbes study, 7 scientifically proven benefits that will motivate you to give thanks. And I have this article at the back too, if you want to look at it. But actually, what we found is gratitude opens the door to more relationships. If you practice gratitude regularly, you can, it shows that you will have more connections, a better social network. Okay, and we also know that gratitude improves your psychological health. You'll feel more balanced, more satisfied. You'll also be able to understand people better, have better empathy, and you'll be less angry. And couldn't the world use less angry people now? Okay, you know, if you practice gratitude regularly, the research shows that it improves your self-esteem. Excuse me, it improves it, you sleep better, and then it also improves your self-esteem. And the final point about gratitude is it increases your mental strength. So you're actually able to think more clearly, remember better. So your mental strength improves as well. And you can find out more details if you want to go to that article. So you might say, well, yeah, but what about the physical? Does it do anything for my physical health? You bet. Practicing gratitude regularly improves your immunity. And don't we all want good immunity during COVID risk? So improved immunity, better cardiovascular health, improved biomarkers, and by that I mean maybe your cholesterol level, your glucose levels. When the doctor does blood tests, yours will be improved if you practice gratitude, or you have more increased chance of having improved markers. Fewer reported symptoms like backache or migraines. People who practice gratitude regularly have fewer symptoms. And finally, healthier lifestyle and medical compliance. You follow, you work with your doctor, and you're more compliant in medical recommendations. So those are all great things. And again, this comes from a research paper, a white paper done at Berkeley University. So, okay. Now you might say, okay, you kind of convinced me, Joan, but how am I going to practice gratitude? Do I have to get down on my knees and pray? Well, that's not a bad idea, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a simple practice, perhaps a gratitude jar. How simple, you just make a jar. You can have any kind of a jar. It's nice if it's an attractive one. If you can see through it, that's kind of nice too. Put little scraps of paper available next to that gratitude jar, and every day for 2 weeks, put down something you're grateful for. Now, it doesn't have to be earth-shaking. It doesn't have to be world peace or my family's health. It could be something like, oh, I got the last parking spot today. Or when I heard that siren, it wasn't for me and I didn't get the ticket. Give me something real basic, but something you're mighty grateful for when you think back over the day. Or it could be something a little more serious. I'm glad my COVID test was negative. Or I'm glad my friend's hospitalization for COVID didn't result in needing a respirator. All kinds of things you can write to be grateful for, but try to make it specific for that day. What happened that day that made you grateful? And I'm going to encourage you to do this same time every day. Don't wait till the very end of the day, though. Like just after you brush your teeth, ready to climb in bed. Oh, I forgot to do my gratitude jar entry. Maybe right after breakfast or right before dinner or after dinner, but do it at a regular time so you get in the habit. And I'm suggesting at least do it for 2 weeks and then see how you feel about it. If it seems like, yeah, this is really helping me, then you can continue it in the new year. You have just about enough time to get 2 weeks in. So that's one way. But if you say, no, that's too much trouble, I don't want to get a jar out and everything, you can just do a journal. There we go. Here's a journal. Find a nice, not just the old notebook, but a nice journal. And again, you can write some things down. Some of these are rather general. I'd encourage you to put things like internet access, or I was really grateful the Zoom call worked today, a warm home, or my furnace is still going, a roof over my head. Those are all things I'm going to suggest that are possible. And this is your last challenge. Commit to making or using a gratitude jar or writing regularly in a gratitude journal. Okay, we finished our 6 reasons to hold on to the holidays. I've given you 6 challenges. Here they are. I'll review quickly. I want you to think about your favorite holiday traditions and how you can creatively adapt them, even to work this year. And then consider how you can safely celebrate in person with those closest to you. And think about your bubble, even though you may have to expand that bubbles or move into a bubble more later this year, or later, I should say, early in 2021. List 2 ways you can communicate and connect without using the computer. And then use your senses and bring things into your home that make your everydays into holidays by using your senses. And then consider who might be hurting and reach out to those individuals. And the final one we just talked about, use a gratitude jar or a journal. Those are the 6 holiday, hold on to the holiday reasons. I said I'd talk a little bit about gifts. So I want to do that. And I really want to encourage you, after all, a lot of us are home and we don't want to go into crowded stores, and it gets kind of impersonal to order everything off Amazon or from the online virtual stores. So let's talk about how you can make some homemade or personalized and especially healthy gifts. And I like to, maybe you've not thought of this before, but give spices. Most people have certain spices that they like, and if you know their taste, you can give them, maybe they really like hot spices, so you can give them hot sauce or new cayenne pepper that you discovered. Or I just discovered a lime chili spice that I like. So consider what your future giftees might like, and maybe they like sweet, maybe they'd like some cardamom. Or cinnamon, so it can be something traditional, or maybe introduce them to a new spice that you think they might like. Okay, you can also give them a plant-based cookbook, or an attractive collection of plant-based recipes would be great. How about some new healthy grocery items? I teach a lot about new items that have become available that are very healthy and plant-based, even some non-meat, approaches. There's new nut cheeses out. There's all kinds of healthy new choices. Maybe introduce your relatives or friends to something new, or a healthy snack. You could make healthy homemade snacks. We get so much garbage on the holidays. It would be nice to give something that's healthy. Or you can give them coupons. I'm not into yard work, I'll have to admit, my husband is. So sometimes I'll give him a coupon, 1 hour of yard work. It's a big sacrifice for me, and he appreciates it. He could give me something, as far as he'll clean the kitty litter for 2 weeks, since that's usually my chore. So you can have fun with these things, but they can be really important. Maybe your poor sister is overwhelmed with trying to help with online schooling and working full time out of the home. And, she's got a lot of responsibilities. How about a wonderful homemade meal, a healthy one that you can deliver? Probably be much more appreciated than another sweater. Or how about some errands that your friend hates? Just hates taking the dog to the groomer. Well, you could offer to do that if you're in good terms with the dog or cat, or the dog, I should say. So there's all kinds of ways that you can think about, how could I make this person's life a little easier, if it's not, something that you can arrange. You can give kitchen items. The spiralizer, do you know what that is? That's kind of popular right now. You can make zucchini noodles called zoodles, and they're quite fun. So that's, there are all kinds of special gadgets out there that aren't expensive. I like to give festive napkins, paper napkins and plates, because they're consumable. And even if you're not entertaining, you can still use them for yourself for holidays or whatever. Another good idea is a cold care box. Put together some items that people might need when they have a cold. And you can just say, hope you don't come down with a cold this year, but if you do, I want you to be prepared. And you put chicken noodle soup, Kleenex, cough drops, chapstick. It just makes the person know that you cared about them. Or you can always give holiday socks. Nobody can have too many of those, right? It's not so much the item, but the thought. You are really thinking about, what does my friend or relative enjoy? And with that, I'm going to look at, how about something silly, like holiday toilet paper? Everybody wanted toilet paper this year, right? Well, why not make it festive? Or maybe something a little more sentimental, a collection of teas inside a mug with an encouraging note like this: don't let the hard days win. And I think, someone who is struggling, that might mean a lot. And finally, my favorite, I came across this on the internet. I did not know there was pandemic wine, but check this out. You could give a pandemic survival box. Get a nice little box, dress it all up, wrap it up nicely, and have hand sanitizers, toilet paper, that hot commodity, Clorox wipes, a colorful new mask, maybe even a Grinch mask, and of course, a bottle of wine with this so appropriate label. Pairs well with global pandemic. And it says, cheers to better days ahead. You can actually buy this wine on the internet. I don't know if it's good wine. And quite frankly, I'd probably buy a wine I like and just put a label on it. But wouldn't it be fun to get a pandemic survival box and know that the person put all that effort into trying to make it, make your day a little lighter? Okay, I've given you some ideas. I want to finish because, I'm into plant-based. The holidays sometimes are rough because we end up feeling guilty and we eat foods we know we're going to regret. You don't have to do that. This is a year that you could enjoy wonderful holiday meals and treats that are also good for you. And you might say, well, how am I going to find out about that? Just Google it. There are tons of good recipes out there. The ultimate whole food plant-based Christmas cookie recipes. If you just Google whole food plant-based, or you can say vegan Christmas cookies. Now, sometimes vegan is not as healthy as when we go for whole food plant-based, but that would get you probably to some good recipes. You could go, if you want more meals, how about this? 15 delicious plant-based Christmas ideas. All you have to do is put in vegan or plant-based cookies or meals or fish entrees. Well, that wouldn't be plant-based. I shouldn't have said that. You could say nut side dishes. Here's something I made, a broccoli tree, Christmas tree. I don't know if you've seen that. You might say, yeah, but I'm not going to a party. Well, you can enjoy it yourself. Make something special for yourself. So those are some ideas. Here's some more. Have you ever considered making a Christmas tree out of a slice of zucchini? It's pretty simple, but you'll have to buy that star fruit. Here I made spring rolls. They were so colorful, they're a big hit. How about a wreath made out of greens and then cherry tomatoes? Here's another kind of wreath. Here's another kind of broccoli tree. Here's a snowman made out of, I think that's cauliflower and mushrooms. There's just so many wonderful ideas on the internet. So we've talked a little bit about healthy nutrition. You can, how about some snacks? You can, again, 25 healthy holiday snacks. Just Google that and you'll find it. Or vegan versions of your favorite holiday desserts. Everything from snowmen that made Santa snowmen to vegan gingerbread. And now I am going to turn it over if we have questions, but I want to toast. Let me get my glass and what I'm going to do, please notice, because I'm plant-based, I don't eat turkey, but yes, I do. I have my plant-based turkey. And this is indeed what we had for Thanksgiving this year. I made turkeys using a lentil loaf, but I have a special pan I'm going to show you once I stop sharing the screen. But I wanted to wish you a wonderful holiday season, and I want to toast to you with the idea that there's ways that you can celebrate the holidays, and I don't want you to let the Grinch spoil your holiday spirit. So here's to you and a happy but safe holiday. And now I'll stop sharing. And here I am again. Here's that toast to you. And what I'm going to do, I've given in the chat, you'll see there are 5 articles. If you really want to follow up or see what the research says, there are 5 articles. You don't have to copy that whole link. All you need to do is put the first couple letters of the article you're interested in, and you'll be able to find it on the internet. So that makes it easy. Some people like to take pictures, I know, and that would be great as well. I don't know if any of you have questions or comments. Maybe some of you have been successfully celebrating the holidays and you have some comments, and I love to hear them. If I'll wait, and as you think this up, I'm going to tell you one. I'm going to share one of the programs that I gave. One of the individuals said, well, I use gratitude jars all the time. And the way I do it is I give my friend an empty gratitude jar with some nice colorful papers so that they can start their gratitude jar. But the first one I put in, the first comment is, "I'm glad you're my friend." And I thought, well, what a lovely idea. And what I told her was, I'm going to share this next time I give a program, and I've shared it several times. So that was one good idea I will share with you. If we have any other comments, I'd be happy to hear them. If not, what do you think, Matt? Have we kind of covered the subject?
I think we did. I think you did an
Okay.
excellent job summing it all up, especially your point about gratitude, I think is so important.
Mhm. And it's been studied extensively. It's really quite amazing. I was surprised how much research there is out there about that. Well, with that, I will again wish you all a happy holiday with no Grinches to steal your spirits.
That's wonderful. Well, thank
Okay.
you once again, Joan. Thank you everyone at home for joining us, and have a great holiday season.
I will leave.